What's up, disc golfers? Disc Golf Chris here, and I have a first run Discraft Z Vulture. There's been a lot of excitement about this driver, partly because it fills a need that a lot of disc golfers have, and also because it has a lot of similarities to the Discraft Predator, which many of us know and love. But before I could start comparing to the Predator, I'll tell you about the Vulture by itself. This is an overstable long distance driver, probably somewhere about a 10 speed feels about right. It's got a moderate profile. It's not too domey, so it fits nicely in the hand. It also has a rim that's not overly thick, so it's easy to grip. There's a slight protrusion on the bottom of the rim, a little bit of flash in there that takes a couple rounds to wear down, but it's not bad and it wears down nicely for a smooth release. So the Vulture is pretty much a straight flyer. If I throw it about 325, it likes to go very straight and then drop down hard. If I throw it closer to 350, get a little bit of turn, and it's got some glide that'll carry it forward. In the fade, it's still got a pronounced fade, but the fade is forward to give you a little extra distance. Then I can throw it about 375 with more power. At that point, it starts turning a little bit more, and the fade's a lot more forward. I have to put a lot of power on it to get it that far because it's a 10 speed, but it's very comfortable and it's very consistent, especially at the lower speeds. I wouldn't think this is going to be a max distance driver for you, but it's a very consistent overstable driver. And one of the great characteristics is that it's extremely workable for an overstable driver, especially of its class. Many drivers around this class will be overstable to the point where they'll go straight and drop hard. Can't hit very many lines on them, only good for hyzers. While the Vulture is excellent for hyzers and straight lines, you can also get it on workable lines. It'll hold an anhyzer line for a while, actually similar to a Predator, those long looping anhyzers. And with the little bit of extra glide that it has, it will hang on to that long anhyzer line. On the long anhyzers, it will pull out just toward the end and give you a consistent fade, but it'll hold its line for quite a long time. As I mentioned, it's excellent on hyzer shots. You can throw it short or long hyzers, and it does not like to flip up. You can get pinpoint precision. This is going to be a very accurate overstable driver for you. I was able to throw this successfully with some overhands. It's not my favorite overhand disc, only because it's a little bit slower to turn than some of the other overstable drivers, but you're certainly not going to go wrong with it. The Vulture is an excellent forehand driver as well. I like to throw this about 325, 350 on forehand. It can handle the torque with no problem, and it's just as consistent with forehand as it is on backhand. So the forehand flexes are very, very nice lines and very accurate, and you can get some decent distance. It is an excellent wind fighter as well. It's got a little extra glide, so it will get a little bit of variability in height as you throw it far into the wind, but you're not going to be disappointed throwing this into the wind. And of course, with a tailwind, it'll drop a little bit sooner, but the extra glide helps give you some extra distance. So I'm a big fan of this disc. Now comparing it to the Predator, I'm a little bit biased because I've loved the Predator for many years. Now I pulled out the ESP Predator specifically because the Vulture has a little bit extra glide, so it feels more like an ESP Predator than the Z Predator, perhaps a broken-in, maybe 2-3 season broken-in ESP Predator, and that's a good thing. There's a lot of drivers that come out that are kind of like broken in. They're kind of like another mold that's been broken in, and a lot of those are inconsistent. They're not always what they're supposed to be, but the Vulture is very similar to a broken-in Predator. It has a little bit more glide, and I consistently threw it about 15 to 20 feet further than the Predator. One thing I noticed was that the Predator will like to drop hard, and the Predator doesn't seem to have that forward fade that the Vulture does. So if you like your Predator but want a little extra distance, Vulture is going to be a good option. Again, with the overhand, the Predator will turn a little bit sooner, so sometimes that's a little bit easier to control. But like I said, it wasn't detrimental to my game throwing overhand or anything. So if you were a previous Predator thrower but want something that's just a touch less overstable and maybe a touch more distance, Vulture is going to be a great option for you. Or if you haven't thrown the Predator but you're looking for a consistent and workable overstable distance driver around 10 speed, then I highly recommend giving the Vulture a try. Vulture is very versatile considering that it's an overstable driver, and I was impressed with the workability. So go out to Infinite Discs and take a look at what they've got. The Big Z Vulture has a very cool stamp. I've thrown Big Z Vulture a few times as well. I didn't notice a lot of difference in the flight pattern there. It was very similar. Excellent disc. So I'd recommend go giving it a try. And don't forget, just throw.